Welcome everyone to the first Chicago Bears podcast perspective. And why is this perspective? It's my perspective. It's what I think. It's how I feel. I'm by any means an expert. I don't even live in Chicago. I can list negatives. But I have a perspective, and we'll go into those things of either how I feel about a player, how we played this week, what could have altered the past, all things Chicago Bears. And I plan on doing one or two a week. This is the demo. I'm not sure how I'm wanting to record these. I've got a tablet, but it's not as easy as just hitting record from GarageBand and posting it on YouTube. I've had a lot of issues trying to post on YouTube. And so I just wanted to do a demo explaining what the podcast is going to be about, how it's going to be about, whether it goes further, whether I have special guests, who knows. The way YouTube is, you're in a sea, you're in the abyss, and even though there's a gazillion Bears fans out there, it might take a while to build steam. One of the podcasts I follow that's actually been around a while, and all the searches I've done for Chicago Bears podcast, maybe it might be a tagging issue, but one of the pages I enjoy is the Bears Brothers. I've been going there, and they're a great page, and I listen to them. I think they post daily or multiple times a week. It's really awesome. Still, some of the things that are going through my mind about Chicago, some of the things that I feel needs to be said from a perspective, my perspective. I just feel I want to get out there. And I'm not right, I'm not wrong. I want discussion. If you post on the podcast that I'm a jerk or whatever, that's not discussing. Probably the first podcast I'm going to have is going to be on Jay Cutler. About how excited I was when all my friends was like, you guys got Jay Cutler. And I was like, you are shitting me. I'm from Tennessee. Jay Cutler is a Vanderbilt guy. Nashville. I know one of his teachers. They're still good friends to this day. I don't want to go into too much on Jay Cutler. But I have a perspective on Jay Cutler. And I'll just stop right there because it's like I already want to go into those tangents and go into explaining this and explaining why, what I have seen. I pretty much watch 95% of the Chicago Bears games. I'm not a fan of any players of Chicago. Your players make your love for your team better or worse. I love Chicago. I love the name. I love the colors. Like the stadium, like the town. There's something about Chicago sports that has just always called to me. I was a Cubs fan, White Sox fan. I liked the Cubs before they were anything, when they had Sammy Sosa. And they weren't doing anything. Now, I can't say I like them as much. They've kind of become mainstream. You know how that goes. But I don't watch baseball that much anyway. Of course, I liked the Bulls growing up. Who didn't? But, they were like a number 2 to me, and now I don't like them at all. I don't know anybody that's on the team. I don't even watch basketball. I got out of basketball. I was a big Supersonics fan. Yeah, I know they moved, but they changed their team, changed their colors. They're not the same team anymore. The Houston Oilers are not the Tennessee Titans. I enjoyed the Tennessee Titans once all those players left, and I am referring to McNair and all of them. Once they were gone, I was like, I can dig the Titans now. They are the Titans now. They're not just Oilers with a different jersey. So, this is the growth. This is where we're at right now. I do plan on purchasing things to make this experience a lot better. I plan on going live. I just don't know a format, how I want to do it yet. But I wanted to do it because the season has started. So join me on the growth of this channel. Subscribe. I'm going to have my own personal playlist for this Chicago Bears stuff. I do all sorts of things on my channel, from music to comedy. But I wanted to get into podcasting. I love football. I love movies. I love to talk. I think when you love something in entertainment, or if you love to have a perspective, or if you like to talk, then a podcast is where it's at for you. So hit subscribe, share. If you are able to get this podcast right now, put in the comments what you would like to hear about. Maybe something that's not been talked about much. Like the injury to Tommy Harris. Y'all remember that name? Rashad Davis's tweets. The defensive formation in the Super Bowl. And how there's a perspective on Ron Rivera. To who should have been the Chicago Bears quarterback. To who should the Bears have drafted. To who should the Bears have picked up in free agency when they were right there at our fingertips. From even keeping Thomas Jones over Cedric Benson. Why get Cedric Benson? Like I said, guys, there's a huge perspective deal. There's going to be a perspective deal on Mitch Trubisky. What is your perspective of the Chicago Bears? This is open discussion. And I want people to like, unlike, share, get mad, show somebody else. Be like, listen to what this idiot's talking about. This idiot wanted Terrell Owens years ago. Yeah, I wanted Terrell Owens when we didn't have any wide receivers and Devin Hester was slaughtered as our number one. There's a huge perspective out there. Years of watching football, the good, the bad, to stories. I'm a Bears fan like everybody else. And I just felt that doing this podcast from a perspective that I could share some different things with you. So, Bears fans, subscribe. I'm looking forward to this podcast. It's been a long time coming. And I hope you enjoy it too. I hope it makes you happy some days. I hope it makes you angry some days. At the end of the day, I hope it makes you think. I hope it entertains you. A lot of times I go to work and I podcast. Maybe that's what you do. Maybe you're on a long drive and you need something that just kind of mentally stimulates your mind. With that being said, I'm open to hosts. I don't know how it would work. I don't know if Skype would be the answer or anything. I'm very, very open. I just know the initial issue or the initial idea for this channel is for a perspective. It is to talk about Chicago and talk about what I see on the field and how things are going. So Bears fans, subscribe, like, unlike. Are you excited? Has the little bit of tidbits that I've thrown out there already kind of interest you? Let me know. And I should be doing another podcast. I'm going to probably try to get something a little bit more concrete for the weekend and try to figure out moving forward how I'm going to do this podcast and what's the best way at the moment to do this podcast from a sound and visual perspective. A lot of times I think with podcast visual don't really matter. You know, when I'm at home, I watch movies. When I podcast, I like to throw an earbud in. You know, a shout out to some of the podcasts that I already listen to. Um, MLW Wrestling Podcast. I love Bruce Pritchard. I love Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone's podcast. Both of those guys are hosted by a guy named Conrad Thomas or Thompson. Freaking awesome. He as a host elevates them too. So I highly recommend that on MLW Radio. I love Jim Cornette, but he doesn't have Conrad Thompson. If Jim Cornette had Conrad, my God, I can only imagine. But I love Jim Cornette. But not every episode's a home run for me. He kind of rambles about things, or he talks about a time in wrestling that I have no idea about. And but I love Jim Cornette. And then I do Joe Rogan. I do football. I have ventured out to a couple of other podcasts, but there's none that kind of intrigues me. Well, let me take that back. There's one Kiss pod. I'm a big Kiss fan. There's a Kiss podcast that I'm not gonna. I think one of the guys in there are so rude that I don't even want to throw their name out unless it accidentally slips up. But I will tell you that the other podcast I listen to is a Pod of Thunder. They're pretty cool. But alright, that's going to be it for the first introduction perspective of the Chicago Bears podcast perspective. And my name's James. So hit like, subscribe, and we'll see you all soon.